All right. So today, what we're going to do is we're really going to dive deep into leadership today. We're going to talk about Green versus Maxwell. We're going to take a look at some examples here of some Green leaders that have made the news recently, what Green leaders tend to be, and what Maxwell leaders tend to be, with some real world examples as well. So, anyways, let's take a look at this and dive in a little bit deeper. As always, guys, a lot of times I get this stuff from blogs that I read on an everyday basis. This right here is from bnet.com. This is a CBS site. And what they do is they provide a lot of different portals. This portal happens to be for their leadership part of it. And I read this every day. Anytime I see something that I think would interest you guys or whatever, I bring into it. And this is one of those articles. Actually, there's two articles that we're going to look at from this. All right, so this gentleman right here, his name is Eric Schmidt. He is the CEO of Google, and very much a Maxwell type of leader from actions anyways. Now, as you guys know, Maxwell, Green, as we talked about, is a very bold type of leader. Will throw his or her mother under a bus for a dime. It's just a different type of animal all the way around versus Maxwell. Remember, two ends of the spectrum. Anyways, Eric Schmidt is a Green type of leader, at least in his actions. Okay, what he did was he went to North Korea. Okay, I don't know why he knows better than the U.S. State Department, because the U.S. State Department doesn't want anybody going to North Korea. So far, the only people I know that have gone there has been Dennis Rodman and Eric Schmidt, the CEO of Google, and that's pretty motley crew right there to begin with. But anyways, so Eric Schmidt went to Google. A lot of people think that the reason he went is to get the spotlight on him and to show people that he was doing this and doing that and going to North Korea, and who knows what he talked to North Koreans about, but I'm sure it had something to do with Google and having access to Google in North Korea, which I still don't understand because there's not much technology over there. I don't even think they allow their people to have cell phones, okay, as an example. But anyways, with these types of leaders, Eric Schmidt included, they feel like they have a sense of entitlement. In other words, I'm special and I should get special attention. Remember, we're talking about Green type of leaders here. See from this picture right here about this guy taking up 2 parking spots. I mean, we've all seen this, but Green type of leaders really come out with this sense of entitlement because you're worth it. Okay, so they just think that they are entitled to this, to that, and why? It's because they are the top dog. It is the top billing, and they are better than everybody else. Okay, very much different from a Maxwell type of leader, was more of a servant leadership. Okay. The next thing that Green type of leaders tend to want is attention. I like, even need to be the center of attention. Thus, maybe this is the reason why Eric Schmidt went to North Korea. But they always want attention. It's crazy the type of things that they will do to get attention. It might be the bold case of Donald Trump when he last year when the election was going full steam, and Donald Trump was thinking about throwing his hat into the ring. And if you guys should figure this out by now, that Donald Trump is very much a Green type of leader. And so Donald Trump had a press conference. He said that he's hired some private investigators, and he found that maybe President Obama indeed had not been born in the United States. Okay, to which President Obama came back and finally produced his birth certificate. And, it was kind of a stupid move to begin with on Trump's part. But anyways, President Obama made it public, showed his birth certificate. Now, instead of Donald Trump admitting he was wrong, this is what he said, and I'm paraphrasing him on this. He said, well, at least I'm the only one that could get him to produce his birth certificate. I mean, are you kidding me? All right. Instead of admitting you're wrong, you're just saying, well, I'm the only one that could get him to produce his birth certificate. That is a bold type of leader that wants attention. That is a very much a Green type of leader, okay? The next type of trait that Green leaders tend to pop out with is superiority, okay? I am better or smarter than others. Now, obviously, if you've got this, you have a very big ego, and you probably don't fit through most doors with your ego, all right? But the superiority complex can really be a problem, okay? Because if you think that you're smarter and better than other people, eventually you're going to stop listening to people, and eventually you're going to think that because you are so smart and all this type of stuff, you're going to make a very big mistake, all right? So these types of leaders, if they've definitely got a lot of this, a very big ego, and so on. Another way to figure out if the person is a green type of leader, another trait that they tend to have is self-absorption. So you can see this, the world revolves around them. Okay. I spend a lot of time contemplating my extraordinary qualities. It might be a quote from somebody who thinks this. So they're self-absorbed in themselves, and they think the world revolves around them. I don't think I need to go into any detail on the way that they act when this type of stuff happens. But people who are very self-absorbed with themselves and think that the world revolves around them tends to freak out when things don't go their way. All right, they tend to, um, you know, say get angry easy and so on when things tend to not go their way. So these are the types of traits. Remember the Maxwell book, all 10 chapters are traits of a leader. The green book is not about traits, it's how to play the game as a green type of leader. So what I try to do with this article here, and we're not quite done with it yet, is to talk about, okay, if you were a green type of leader, what type of traits would you have? Okay. Now, so far, has anybody had a boss that's had these types of traits? So Tony, I'll tell you what. How about I take you off? How about I take you off mute here? And if you want to go ahead and kind of describe a boss that you had, and feel free to talk. So I just took you off mute here. So go ahead. Oh, okay. All right. So who else said here? All right. So I tell you what. I'm going to unmute. EMC Clam. I don't know who this is. Okay. So please tell me your name.
Oh, Ed McClam.
Oh, okay, Ed. Thank you. Thank you. So,
Yeah.
yeah, well, why don't you give us a little bit of info on the type of leader and the traits that they had here? Thanks, Ed.
I had a supervisor who was in charge of a whole unit who believed that everything he said was right. When he went into technology, he blew up the budget, spent everything, brought in some machinery that didn't work, and when it all boiled down, his technical skills didn't match up to what was coming out of his mouth, and he ended up getting removed. But he looked down on everybody. We didn't know anything as far as technology was concerned and the future. He's the only one who could see it. And that's the way he ruled the department for 4 years, and we ended up going nowhere for 4 years. But when the board of directors looked at it, they said, "Wait a minute, we just blew $42 million on a project, thinking that this guy we brought in was going to do it, and all he did was showboat."
So the board of directors did see him. He didn't try to throw it back that it was you guys' fault on this type of thing?
Well, when he would go to the meetings with the board of directors, he would even tell them what they needed. He wouldn't listen. He wouldn't listen to me either.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, well, definitely, I would say he'd have just about all four of these traits, especially the superiority one. So what was his reaction when he got let go?
He said he's gonna go to the wine vineyard and drink his wine.
Oh, well, good luck with that one.
That's what he said.
Well, thanks, Ed. Thanks for that story. I always like to hear from you guys and talk about that. Anytime you guys want to talk about this, just raise your hand or whatever. I take you off mute. The reason I put everybody on mute is a lot of times people don't have things going on in the background and things like that. But I'm always want to hear from you guys. If you guys want to, chime in and say something, of course, you can always write it as well. Okay. So thanks a lot, Ed. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. So let's get back to this if we can here. All right. So let's talk about patterns for bold leadership. Okay. So what type of things do you look for bold leadership? Okay. These types of leaders that we've talked about before tend to bring all kinds of things to work here. Okay. One way to always know bold leadership is they tend to use the words I a lot instead of we. Maxwell type of leader is going to use a we. Now, I think it's kind of interesting. I'm not a fan of either one of these teams. All right. I'm sure somebody's going to say something whenever I mention this one team. But, the Miami Heat won the NBA championship last year, and the Chicago Blackhawks won the NHL championship last year. Of course, the leader for the NBA Heat is LeBron James. In his celebration speech, he used the word I 12 times. In the Blackhawks captain celebration speech, he used the word we 16 times. It's a big difference right there. There's no I in team. There is an I in win, though. I do understand that, and I like that aspect of it. But the words I, and me are tend to things to bring more of a green leader. We is more of a Maxwell type of leader. Okay. Now, we'll tell you this before we move along any further. I have a lot of students in class and I have a lot of students online. They'll say, why I love being a green type of leader. Well, one thing that I've noticed throughout my years is this, that if unless you are brought in to make change, if you go into a company being more of a green type of leader than you do a Maxwell type of leader, you had better win. Okay, you had better win. In other words, you had better succeed very quickly, because if you don't, you're probably not too many people are going to like you. And we tend not to give second chances for people we don't like. If you go in as Maxwell in it, on the other hand, and you don't win right away, you don't have success right away, but people like you, people are willing to give you a lot more chances when you've got that. So, Tony, there is a me in team. It's not quite me as in M-E, but you're right. We could, there's also meat in team as well. Okay. All right. But I like what you're doing with that. I like where you're going with that. All right. So here's another type of bold type of leader is, what is good for business is good for me. This is where this attention type of stuff comes into. Okay. Now, the reason why this is important, the reason I'm bringing this up is because what is good for business is good for me. In other words, you see this takeover, you see this merger. Usually it's all about the CEOs when it comes to something like this. It's all about the CEOs, and they do this type of stuff to get the attention on them, not necessarily what is good for the business. Okay. Now they do work hard. They do work hard to get where they're at. All right. But they always need attention. They always need applause. And they're likely embark upon what is often considered bold strategic moves. Things like mergers and acquisitions are a particular favorite of these types of leaders. Okay. So they, and the article that this comes out of found that 111 chief executives, okay, they were more, crave attention, worked hard to achieve glory, but it was just all about me when it comes to their leadership style. Okay. So what if you work for this type of leader? Well, that's the rub now, isn't it? That can be the problem, Ed. It sounds like you already work for this type of leader. Okay, you're probably going to see plenty of office drama, and Ed, chime in here in that message board if you want to. There's always going to be drama in the office. There's always going to be something going to be stirred up. Okay, the waters can't be calm. They've always got to produce waves. Okay, they have lots of big strategic moves, and Ed, you talked about that, spending $142 million on technology and was not able to bring it to fruition. Okay, there's very little steady growth, and there's absolutely no guarantees with these types of people. Okay, and Ed, I would think you would absolutely agree to this. So if that's your type of fun, that's great. But it's most people, it's not their cup of tea whatsoever, and you need to go find a real leader. So really, you have two choices with this. You have you can either deal with it, try to learn to play the game. And by the way, guys, I cannot teach you how to play the game because your game is different from my game. Different people, different jobs, different companies, things like that. So keep that in mind. But the Green Book is how to play kind of the game. If you're not a green type of leader, let me repeat this. If you are not a green type of leader, you'd better still read the Green Book because people are going to do those things to you, and you got to be prepared. I am very, very much Maxwell. Have I done the green stuff? Absolutely, when I needed to. I can pull that stuff out when I need to. I don't like to do that, but I've got to play the game because if you don't play the game well, your career is just not going to last. All right, so let's take a look at the next type of leader, which is obviously Maxwell, and let's take a look at a Maxwell type of leader that a lot of people see, and I completely agree with this, which is New Jersey Governor Chris Christie. All right, so Governor Christie, he seems to be on Saturday Night Live quite a bit. He's always in the news for some of the stuff that he's done, but let me tell you a reason why the spotlight firmly fell on Chris Christie. Now, I'm not from New Jersey. Matter of fact, I've never been through New Jersey. I guess I've flown over it. So, I've got no dog in this hunt as far as Chris Christie is concerned. But let me tell you something. Last year during the election, 2 weeks before the election, New Jersey and New York got hit by, the Sandy, the tropical storm Sandy, the hurricane, whatever it was. A lot of damage, tore up the Jersey Shore, really flooded out a lot of New York City and so on. Well, Chris Christie is a Republican, okay? And obviously President Obama is a Democrat. And usually when you have those types of things going on, there's criticism no matter what. This wasn't the case with Chris Christie. Okay, President Obama came in almost immediately, helped out New Jersey, and Chris Christie went on to the camera and he said, listen, Republican, Democrat, that goes to the side now. He goes, President Obama did a fantastic job helping us come in and clean up. I'm sure a lot of Republicans wanted to kick him out of the party right then and right there. But you know what? A government elected official, and this is ironic for us to talk about with the government shutdown, but they're supposed to be here for us. And I will say this, I was very impressed by Chris Christie and what he said and what he did during this storm, okay? Now he has, he has a lot of different types of things. Like he said, matter of fact, I will quote this. I'm going to read this to you, okay? It talks about some of his quotes, and this is a quote. I especially like the one about the cast in MTV's Jersey Shore. They're from New York. Snooki is from Poughkeepsie. Situations from Staten Island. They parachute these losers into New Jersey, all right? Jersey Shore is about Jersey, and he just put them all down, okay? So, he's quick for one-liners, and it makes him likable when he's like this. All right, another thing that, leadership lessons from Chris Christie here is be direct and truthful, okay? Christie said his mom always spoke the truth bluntly, directly, and without much varnish, and taught him to speak from the heart and fight for your principles, okay? How many companies have we seen fail because executives sugarcoat the truth or surround themselves with yes people? The last thing you want to do as a leader is have a lot of yes people around, because these people are more interested in kissing your butt than actually making things happen. They may be scared to say anything against you, and that would probably indicate more of a green type of leader. But you cannot have yes people around you all the time. If you take a look at President Lincoln, President Lincoln's cabinet actually had some enemies of President Lincoln, and I will actually mention this a little bit on one of the discussion board posts. Actually had some enemies on Lincoln's White House staff. The reason he did this is he didn't want yes people. You have to remember, this is during the time of the Civil War. So he needed insights from people from the South just as much as he needed insights from people in the North. When you can create people like this, when you can have people on, as your advisors that are not yes people, they're going to give you different viewpoints, a different way of looking at things. I'm not saying you always listen to them, but you just don't want people saying yes, 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 okay? You need to be yourself and be genuine, okay? Now, obviously, we're still talking about Maxwell Hill here. So don't try to fit somebody else's ideas of how you should behave, okay? So we all have gifts, we all have strengths, and we all have passions, okay? Every one of us are going to be different in these three things, okay? So every leader, you have to have a trusted advisor or two. So after you hear everybody else out, everybody else's words, you should always still trust your gut and make your own decisions. Okay, so listen to those people, listen to your advisors, but in the end, you've got to trust your gut and you've got to make your own decisions. Okay, it's just a fact of what you need to do. You're not a leader unless you do these types of things. Okay, so this is the type of thing that Maxwell is going to ensue as well. Okay, and guys, always feel free to jump in anytime you want to, make a comment, tell a story. Whatever it is. I'm sure you've all read this by now. Earn respect for what you do, not admiration for who you are. Of course, this is Lance Armstrong. I think enough said on that. He's a lying pig. All right. He would sue people, folks. He would sue people if they said that they saw him using performance-enhancing drugs. He won hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars off people for slander. Okay. Yeah, he is a natural tragedy. We're a very forgiving nation, but when somebody lies in your face like this for he won 7 Tour de France. He was lying then, and it's been a while since then. So what, 12 years? Crazy. Anyways, okay, This is truly a critical point, and I really can't emphasize this enough. Leaders, and I hope all of you become leaders, should be measured by what they do, their behavior, their actions, their accomplishment, not their principles or ideas. Okay? The only thing that counts in the real world is getting things done. Now, of course, if you do it like Lance Armstrong did, then you're going to have issues. Okay? So this is not what we're saying here. You're going to have issues here. Okay? But you want to earn respect for what you do, not admiration for who you are. Okay? Just because you are this and that and so on, you get respect for what you do. Obviously, Lance Armstrong cheated, got caught cheating. Okay? That's not going to earn him respect by anybody whatsoever. So this is kind of a opposite of what we're talking about here, but it still goes along with it. Forget the naysayers. People said we couldn't land on the moon. President Kennedy put that edict out. By the end of the 60s, we would be on the moon, and we were. A lot of people said we couldn't do it. Okay, so people are always going to say things like the challenges are too great, things are too broken to be fixed, can't be done, you can't challenge the status quo, whatever. Okay, they're always going to blame and they're always going to point fingers. Okay, I'm just going to tell you right now, none of that matters. How you got there doesn't matter. The odds don't matter. You just don't listen to what everybody else. Do what has to be done. Make it happen. Be the master of your own destiny, not a victim. Guys, gals, I'm sure you know this already, but this is a dog-eat-dog world. If a door is going to be cracked open, kick it all the way in, folks. If you don't, somebody else will. Get things done. Do what needs to be done. Make it happen. That includes your job search. We're going to talk a little bit about your job search next week. I'm going to give you guys some tools, some websites to take a look at, to help you out in your job search, because I want you guys to be thinking about this stuff early. Some of you already got jobs. That's great. But if you want to take it to that next level with your master's degree, that's what we're going to talk about next week. So I'll leave that till next week, but I'm just saying you need to do what it needs to be done. And have faith in people. Okay, trust that people can and will face challenges. You need to do the right thing, make the tough choices, and do what needs to be done when it counts. You really, really do. Okay? The only caveat to this is they need the right leadership, or none of that will happen. It has to come from you. Okay? Leadership delivers. This is a quote from Chris Christie. Leadership delivers, leadership counts, leadership matters. Okay? He's right all across the field, all across the board. He is absolutely right. I was looking at Tom Brady there and said field instead of board. Sorry about that. But leadership delivers, it counts, and it matters. Okay? People need leadership. We want people that are confident. We want people that are going to do the right thing. It's getting harder and harder these days to find that type of leader. Okay? So anyways, guys, any questions on the lecture before we move on and talk about some of the assignments? Anybody? All right. So let me go ahead and let's talk about the assignments. So let's talk about oh, did you? Wow, Tony. That's crazy. Just played Big Ten ball? Because I know he played for Michigan. Oh, in high school. Okay. Gotcha. Did you have any idea he was going to go somewhere then? I don't think anybody, he was drafted. I'm not trying to get into the detail on this, but he was drafted the last guy in the NFL draft that year, and he's turned out to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. Great story. All right, so let's talk about some of the assignments today. All right. So as always, you get your discussion board Wednesday, Sunday. We're going to talk about your mastery journal and your PechaKucha presentation. And you guys especially need to be paying attention to the PechaKucha presentation, because this week will take you a little bit of time to do with the PechaKucha. So let's go ahead and go into this. So let's talk about the mastery journal assignments. At least 300 words on which leader you feel, not fell, but feel you are. And I just changed that. I apologize about that. So are you more of a Green leader, or are you more of a Maxwell leader? That's what your journal entry is going to be about this month. So why you feel that way, give examples of some chapters or laws. You want to post this to turnitin.com. And on that turnitin.com, you want to make sure that you give your Tumblr address to me, because I don't have any of your Tumblr addresses. Okay, so I definitely need that. I might end up setting up a Google Docs for you guys just to post that to. I might do that as well, just to get those Tumblr accounts to me pretty quickly. Okay, and also post on your Tumblr account, just like you did with the with the blog post. Okay, so it's a pretty easy mastery journal assignment. Just think about what type of leader you feel like you are. Go into that a little bit of depth using examples from Maxwell and or Green, or talk about that you're a little bit of both. I don't care which leader you pick. This is you. So talk about this. Talk about what you think you need to do to increase your leadership. It's not a hard assignment. Okay. So this is the big one for the month, for the week. This is the big one for the week, PechaKucha. All right, now, or some people call it Pakachka. I don't know which way you're supposed to call it. I just know that it is a type of presentation that gets things done very quickly, gets people to the point, and so on. All right, so this actually came from Japan. This is being used a lot in business these days because we've all been around very boring presentations where somebody's sitting on a slide for 5 minutes going over and over and over stuff. PechaKucha does not allow that, okay? It's quick, it's easy. It's quick anyways, but there's there's only one picture per slide. And if you go over one picture, I'd highly not recommend that. Very little words, okay? No bullet points, no movies, no sound, okay? It is simply a picture of your leader. And guys, you can pick any leader that you want. You just have to talk about their leadership using Green, Maxwell, where they at on the 5 levels of leadership. I've got it all in the instructions and all in the rubric. And again, let me reiterate this. Always look at those rubrics. Always look at those instructions, because that is my contract to you saying this is how I'm going to grade this, okay? So one picture per slide. It is very, very important that you follow the instructions this week for this, okay? Because the movie that you are going to upload to FSO has to be less than 100 megabytes, okay? If you use more than one picture per slide, or you use a lot of transitions, I wouldn't even use any transition. One picture per slide, no transitions, no movies, no music, just the presentation and you doing a voiceover on the presentation, okay? So 15 to 20 slides, 20 seconds, and in other words, the slide stays on the screen for 20 seconds and then it moves to the next one, okay? So what's the content like? Well, what I do is I give you an example on FSO. If you download that, you'll see exactly what I'm looking for from slide to slide to slide. Okay, it's an easy, just basically I'm giving you the format of how it should look for each slide. So it's what you're just going to have to do is you're going to have to go out there and find these traits or these laws that people talk about. And also, let me tell you this: whatever leader you choose for the PechaKucha, I will allow you to use next week for the paper. So if you do some research on your leader this week, you can also use that research to write the paper next week. So, I'm letting you guys have that. All right. So you also, and this is maybe one of the premier things for this assignment here, is you have to write down and upload the full script of what you said to Turnitin.com. The reason for this, unfortunately, is we've had a number of students plagiarize. They've gone to biography.com and basically read what was on biography.com. So in other words, they plagiarized that information. So you have to write out the full script, okay, and then upload that full script to Turnitin.com, okay? So make sure you pay close attention. One picture per slide, very little words, no music, no movies, 15 to 20 slides, reference slides on this, okay? Then you have to convert that to a movie and upload to FSO. Please pay very close attention to that. And if you do it right, you shouldn't have any problems whatsoever. But I will tell you this: if you wait till Sunday night, you won't get this done. This is a type of an assignment that needs to have some time. You need to make sure that you plan some time to work on this, okay? I cannot emphasize that enough. This is a pretty big assignment, all right? As always, additional support here, as you guys know, archive of this session, FSO, all that type of stuff. So, any questions before we call it a day? Anybody got any questions about the assignments, the content we talked about, anything whatsoever? All right, so if you guys don't have any questions, you know what to do. Just log off, and when everybody is logged off, I know we'll be done. I will be posting the quiz ASAP. Give me a couple minutes. And yeah, Matt, you can go ahead and email Templar to me for right now. Since this is a new assignment for this particular course, I'm trying to figure out what would be the best way to get all the tumblers. And I think I'm going to set up a Google Docs for everybody to drop their Tumblr address in there. I think that might be the best way for you guys to do it and send an email. But by all means, if you want to send that to me, go ahead and send that to me now. All right, so guys, if there's no other questions, you guys can go ahead and just log off, and hopefully we'll see you next week, and we'll see you around. If you need anything, email me, whatever you need to do. Have a great day, folks. Thank you, Val. Appreciate it.